I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending March the 11th, brought to you in part by the American Simmental Association. Discover the advantages of responsible crossbreeding with Sim Genetics. Go to simmental.org. You know, this week your cattle market really surpassed any support levels that it had on technical or fundamental factors there, and really getting overbought. And you know, that's not something we see or really talk about a whole lot on the cattle market, but not a whole lot of support for the levels that it reached this week, although it wasn't super sharply higher. It's just that we've just kind of made some steady advances here the last several weeks. Live cattle, your April contract was up $1.50 on Friday to close at $139.80, gaining $3.45 for the week. Now you want to look out front there. That's the April contract we just talked about. June is $11 back from there, and August is nearly $17 back from there. So we're about to drop off a cliff here. On your feeder cattle March contract, it was up 85 cents on Friday. Ending the week at $162.40, and that was up $3.90 for the week. We did see some reported fat cattle trade there late in the week. Probably, undoubtedly, some more that we'll talk about when that comes out. But mostly in the northern plains, saw some live sales from $138 to $139, which was $2 to $3 higher. Your dress sales made a huge jump there, selling at mostly $220, which was $6 higher than the previous week, and kind of made up for the previous week's Saturday trade fail that we saw there, where it looked like they were going to get more money, and the packers just kept hanging out and holding out till late on Friday, and then Saturday morning, and finally your feedlots that wanted to sell just went ahead and puked them up at about steady money from the previous week. But saw some big gains, and I wouldn't doubt if we've already seen pretty significant trade in Kansas around that 138 or 9 level there, but we'll find out here when it gets reported early in the week. Your slaughter this week wasn't really too bad. 536,000 for the week. That was 3,000 more than last week and 8,000 more than the same week a year ago, so at least we're staying ahead of that. Your weekly average trades on your box beef cutout values, choice was 222.96, which was up 374 compared to the previous week's average, and select was 214.18, which was up 191 compared to the previous week's average there. Look at your cash feeder cattle, steady to firm for the most part across the nation. You know, your board really made more strides than your cash feeder cattle, because the cash feeder cattle market really just felt like that it had been up enough for the last several weeks, and just felt some pressure under itself, not wanting to get a whole lot any higher. But you know, the board was supportive, and then we've had higher fat cattle trade now, and I wouldn't doubt if we don't come out early this week and see some higher markets, especially in the southeast, because the southeast was feeling that pressure, just thinking that it was time for the cattle market to come back. And your southeastern calf markets were steady to $2 lower for the most part around, with most of that business done early in the week. But we saw some big runs again in the southern plains, especially in Oklahoma there. A lot of cattle coming off wheat, and those cattle have done really well out there. Wheat was pretty good this week, or this season. Seems like a lot of time you raise wheat there, and really you just you're paying to lease a spot to go feed hay or something, because there's not a lot of wheat out there. It crawls in the ground. But you know, we had some moisture there whenever I got that planted, and kind of a wet fall there, and really got that wheat up and had something to eat really all winter long there, and didn't get trumped out bad because it turned off dry then during the winter. But cattle really did good on the wheat, and the wheat year paid off this year for a change. Look at individual quote on your markets there. In winter South Dakota on Friday afternoon, or really early evening at 5:15 in the evening, had a load of steers at winter South Dakota, weighed 752, bring 178.75. Now that far surpasses your CME feeder cattle index for a 750 pound steer, which is at 160.03, and even the real-time index on Cattle Market Central, which was 160.42. But you know, when you start getting those 7-weight cattle at high, you can't back them up into what that market is. You look at just a flat 700 pound steer at $1.70, and you try to back that up to $1 into a $1.20 market that you're really looking for late this summer, and that 700 pound steer is going to cost you $1,190. You put another 700 pounds on him in the feedlot, and I figured the cost of gain at 75 cents, which is probably a little high, but I figured that would take care of all your medicine and death loss and your freight and just unmentionables that are going to happen through there. But you do that on a 75-cent gain there, that's going to end up with a steer that's going to cost $1,680, weighing 1,400 pounds. And if you figure a 1,400 pound steer at $1.20, that's exactly $1,680. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to do that right now. And I'm just thinking that as we start looking at how dry things are in the Corn Belt, and starting to look at how this cattle market is really kind of surged up here in the last several weeks, and not a whole lot to back it up. We've got a lot of pressure coming, folks. We've got a lot of numbers coming. The supplies are going to be bigger. That's the first real heavier supplies we're going to see is this fall, whenever the calves start selling. So you know, protect yourself for the downside risk there. And if you haven't got your bulls bought, your breeding stock, check out DV Auction. We're still right in the middle of your spring bull sales, and you can get just about any breed, variety, or whatever you want right there. So on the road here with DV Auction, we'll talk to you next week.